Now welcome. This is One on One. My name is Giva Somaina and this is Kenya Television Service. And I'm here with Atul Singh. He's the CEO, or rather the founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief of the Fair Observer. It's a journal that runs in the whole world, across the whole world, analyzing different issues, important issues right from Africa, Asia, Europe, and even the US. And also he is a speaker on global economy, foreign policy, international affairs, and so much more. He's going to tell us much more about himself. Now, welcome, Singh.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Now, this is Africa. Of course, before we go to that, tell us something else we don't know about you.
I did very badly all through school. Most people think I was a star student. Simply not true. I didn't do well in the Indian education system that's based on memory and examination. Very colonial, actually. And ironically, I started doing well intellectually, actually academically. Intellectually, I think I was okay. But I started doing well, or relatively better academically, only when I left the country.
I showed someone your profile. And he thought you're too young to achieve all those things. Too young.
I use good anti-aging cream. What can I say?
And they say you're a genius.
No, I'm not a genius. I'm no Einstein. I have limited intelligence and even lesser wisdom.
Okay, now tell us about the Fair Observer.
Okay. Look, it's a very simple idea. And the idea is, at a time when the world has become a very intertwined place, when things are really interconnected, you need some sort of a global journal or a global media organization. And the earlier top-down models were some chap from New York or London, or let's say even here, Nairobi, telling you about the world. And we said, hey, wait a minute, what we will do is focus on the deeper issues behind the news, provide context and multiple perspectives from around the world, cutting across borders, backgrounds, and beliefs. And so you get to hear voices and narratives you've never heard of before. Voices from Nairobi, voices from Gaza. But not just that, voices from Ireland. The former Irish Prime Minister, John Bruton, writes for us. John Bruton isn't heard much even in the New York Times. So what we thought is, look, let's bring together people with these different perspectives, because all of us have blind sides. But when we put all our different perspectives together, we have a better approximation of the truth. And today, if you look at Kenya, you arrive here and you see Toyota after Toyota after Toyota. Then you watch people using their cell phones, and it's Samsung and all phones from all around the world. Then you walk a little bit and you come across some Indian name, Mishra, who's running a hospital. Then you walk a little further on and you come across a Somali petrol pump. Then, of course, the Chinese are here building railroads and ports. And, of course, the English never left. They're in conservation, and Delamere still owns land. So, talk about globalization, and Kenya is living, breathing it every day.
How did you get to attract such big people, like the former Prime Minister?
Well, it was a quirk of fate. I was at some international conference. He was sitting on the same table eating with me, just as, you might be eating with me one day. We haven't yet eaten together. We'll have to change that. But we got talking, and I said, this is the vision, and you should write for us, and he agreed. And so Fair Observer really, to finish the point, is a bottom-up journal. So it is a journal on world issues to inform and educate global citizens of today and tomorrow, from perspectives that are diverse, deep, and really thoughtful.
You pay them?
No, we cannot, because we are a non-profit like Wikipedia. And you know that we don't have ads on the website, and it's free. So we rely on donations, we rely on foundations, we work for almost nothing. I have put all my savings and taken no salary So, those people who are watching this and want to donate, even if it's $1, that would be great. So that pays for the servers, that pays for just keeping the lights on. So we don't pay people for writing, but we hope to employ an editing team, full-time editing team that will be paid, because we are getting so much content from around the world.
But you seem to be making some quite money, because I saw your managing director comes from the BBC. So how can you live for BBC for the Fair Observer?
He left it for no salary. My managing editor turned down all kinds of employment offers to come and work for free. Anna Pivovarchuk, my deputy managing editor, turned down Google to work for us. So they're all basically co-founders, because we believe in this vision. We believe that the media model as it exists in the world needs to change. We believe that voices and perspectives of people like you from Africa, people from Latin America, need to be heard as much as, let's say, voices in London or New York. We want voices all the way from San Francisco to Shanghai to be on our news organization. And we don't do this for money. I could have been making more than $1 million, maybe even more than $2 million if I had stuck to a legal career and if I had joined a hedge fund. But I'm not doing that. So we really, if you ask me, the founding team doesn't care about money. So when you ask me, well, how are we working? We left our top organizations to believe in it because it's a cause for us. We believe if you want democracy, you need to have a healthy media. Today, media is dying even in the US. For every one journalist, there are 5 jobs in PR in the US. That is why you have the rise of Trump. The reason democracy is in peril is because the US is systematically underinvested in its education, and there is no media worth the name. Media is literally, instead of being the fourth estate, it has become lapdogs of people in power.
Now, how much is the readability?
Well, depends on how you count it. So those people who come to our website, maybe 100,000 plus readers a month, but a lot of our content is reprinted in journals around the world. So if you add that, maybe a 250,000 we reach in a month. And we have our ebooks, which we are giving away for free, which we have actually given away for free to Moi University, and which students will read, and that is an added readership. So the numbers are not very high, but our readers include people in the top universities, such as Oxford, such as Harvard, such as IIT, Indian Institute of Technology, where I also teach, such as Berkeley, where I have taught. Our readers include people in the White House, people on Capitol Hill, people in the World Bank, people in the International Monetary Fund, people in various diplomacies from Britain to India. It also includes people working on Wall Street, in Hong Kong, in London, in finance and business, because a lot of people who, let's say, have investments around the world or business around the world want to know what's going on in Thailand. So when I write The World This Week and I focus on Thailand, they read it. So the readership is small but very influential.
The impact.
Yes.
How do you assess the impact of, you do so much work,
Yeah.
you criticize governments, you say a lot of things, on important issues, health issues, political issues, international affairs. Can you assess the impact of it?
Yes, I mean, we assess the impact through how we can change discourse, how we get new contributors, how we get picked up by other thought leaders. We assess impact both through reach and through reach as in the growth of our audience, as well as the quality of our audience. And most importantly, eventually, our impact will be in terms of changing discourse. And that's a long-term play. And I think we are starting to do that. The very fact that I'm here talking to you shows that we are having an impact.
Yeah, sure. Now, before you go to matters of Africa,
Yeah.
there is an article, 9/11. 9/11.
Yes.
And what the writer says in the Fair Observer is that the US keep on using 9/11 event to demonize people of color.
Yes, there is an article written by someone Actually, they are Americans. It's not written by foreigners. It's Americans who've written that article.
Yeah.
Element of truth, not entirely true. You see, what I mean by element of truth is this. Is the US scared of its own shadow today? Absolutely. There's no other reason why Donald Trump should be running for president. He's bigoted, he is ignorant, and...
Really? Trump is ignorant?
Absolutely.
I thought he was brilliant.
And he is fundamentally exceedingly dishonest. He has lied repeatedly about fundamental things. Why I call him ignorant is he doesn't know basic facts. He's very quick on preying on the fears of people. He's one of those cunning people who's very street smart. But he's not necessarily terribly bright, well-read, or informed. Now, the rise of someone like Donald Trump shows the anger and fear in America. In fact, I wrote an article on the age of Donald Trump. Hopefully, we'll be doing an event in Boston in October, just before the election on him. And America, after 9/11, went paranoid. They invaded Iraq. There was no reason to do so. Yet they did. They made one blunder after another. They expanded powers of the government, so they are spying on everyone. They also militarized their police. I could go on till tomorrow. The American mistakes after 9/11 actually hurt them much more than 9/11. Osama bin Laden was a small man. They were small man as in they were shadowy figures, petty men. But America's fears of such petty men was so great that it made America small. I don't know if that makes sense. And by that, I mean is that the overreaction, the constant fear psychosis, and yes, it is true that drone strikes end up killing a lot of innocent people, and they end up killing people of color. It is also true that militarization of police ends up in poor African-American men getting shot in America. Nobody from Goldman Sachs would ever be shot dead. Nobody living in an affluent neighborhood in Greenwich, Connecticut, or Palo Alto, California, would ever be mistreated by the police. No. So it's certainly true, but it's not entirely true. I think what happens is it's not intended to hurt people who are of color, but it ends up hurting people of color. You understand?
Yeah.
The intentionality, I think, isn't there. That's important to remember. It's not that they set out to intentionally hurt people of color, but they end up hurting people of color, and that's the argument they are making. And I get their point, but I don't entirely agree with it.
We'll come back to US matters. Now, let's come to Africa. Yep. This is the main discussion. Mm-hmm. Barack Obama, the US president, was here in Nairobi. Yep. And one president hosted him. Mm-hmm. And then after Obama, the Pope came. Mm-hmm. The Prime Minister Netanyahu was there the other day. Mm-hmm. He came. Mm-hmm. And what they said that Africa is ready to do business with the other continent. Is Africa rising? Is this the chance, the opportunity for Africa to rise again?
So I am someone who doesn't set much store by VIP visits. So Obama was here, sure, he has to be here because the Chinese are here. The Chinese are investing much more than the Americans in Africa. So the US president has to show up, particularly because Obama has a look east policy. In fact, I talk about his Asia pivot in one of my columns. So sure, he's here, maybe, that's the event, but not. The Pope's got to be here because most of the practicing Catholics are in Africa. So the Pope will be coming to Africa now. He can't go to Italy. No one's listening to him. No one's having babies there. Their total fertility rate is 1.7. So the Pope doesn't matter in Spain, Portugal, Italy, etc. So the Pope's visits will keep increasing. That's not important either. Netanyahu coming here. Netanyahu runs a small country which is disliked by most of the Arab world. Is it terribly important? Probably not. His visit isn't that important. So the fundamental question that you're asking is whether Africa is ready to do business with the rest of the world. Yeah. Africa is already doing business with the rest of the world. The problem is that Africa is not benefiting from most of the business. Africa exports commodities. Cocoa goes from Ghana, but it goes to Belgium and Switzerland, and it's sold at a huge premium as chocolate later. but Africans are still getting commodity prices. Same holds true for, let's say, copper in Zambia. Same holds true for diamonds from South Africa. Same holds true, let's say, what is a big Kenyan export?
Tea, coffee.
Exactly, tea and coffee. So tea and coffee is often branded by a foreign company. So the challenge for Africa is that it is already in the global market, but you send tea and you get Toyota. Who gets the better deal? Japan. Eventually, Africans have to improve their skill levels, their marketing levels, and get more of the value addition of their products. So instead of, let's say, just producing tea in plantations, if Kenyans were to own tea plantations and create, brands that would be very valuable from New York to Shanghai, that would benefit Kenya more. So Africa has a long way to go. Has Africa improved economically? Sure. I mean, for instance, now the Belgians are not plundering Congo, although Congo is in civil war.
Yeah.
The French are stealing less from the continent than before. The British, they are not telling you how to, live your lives in their short pants, so in their short shorts. But at the same time, what has happened is you still have colonial structures, top-down colonial structures. You still have a lot of bureaucracy. You still have a lot of bribery. It's still difficult to do business for Africans. It's easy for foreigners to do business in Africa. Why? Because they can bribe anyone. It's difficult for Africans to do business in Africa. Africa will change when Africans can do business easily. They can start their own businesses. They can start their own companies. They can, have the skills and the institutional support. They can have the roads. Entrepreneurship combined with, I'm very of just focusing on entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is one half of the equation. Today there is a fetish to say entrepreneurship will solve all the world's problems. Well, it will solve some of the problems. I said it yesterday in the teaching I was doing in the Voices of the World. Yeah. You were there. Entrepreneurship is very important, but it is not going to build you roads. That's where society needs to come together. Societies have to function together in Africa to build roads, to think of how they get their water, how do they save their rainwater, how do they handle their sewage, how do they have things that are more sustainable, how do they stop plastic from going everywhere. So it will be a combination of collective action and individual action that Africa needs, and it will have to reform its colonial era laws that still continue. My country still continues with it. I come from India. Before I went to the UK to study and then to US, I lived and grew up in India. We still have colonial era laws, thousands of them, which stifle us. So I think lots of reforms to make, lots of new skills to acquire. But yes, the energy is there, the dynamism is there, the talent is there, the hunger is there. And so over time, in 1 year, things will not change. But in 10, 20, 30 years, yes.
Infrastructure, electricity. You've been in Nairobi? So we have a Thika highway.
I haven't actually spent enough time in Nairobi to comment. Yeah. So I came straight here.
And something else, standard gauge railway is coming up.
Yes, the Chinese are building it, right?
And Kenya is doing well in infrastructure.
Yeah.
Electricity is all over nowadays.
Yeah.
Water.
Water, Kenya needs to do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, water Kenya needs to do better. All the other I agree, but water, where is it coming from? How are you saving? How are you using? That a lot can improve.
And now let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Atul Singh, founder, CEO, Fair Observer. My name is Giva Somaina, and this is Kenya Television Service. Don't go away.